Care to hear a story? Do you ever feel like something is missing from your life? Well, me too. Thank you for listening to me. You see, it started a while back. Me and my comrade were exploring the spiral. And upon one of our many missions, we met a strange being known as the King in Red. But the King in Red is a different story. A long story that I don't feel like explaining at the moment. No, what this story is about is something that is honestly very hard to explain, but I guess I'll try. In our futile attempts to try and stop him, we fell into one of his traps, and we were pushed through a black hole, not unlike the one behind me, but a different one, a much, much older one. And this caused us both to fall through our reality into a deeper reality, a more primitive one. We ended up in a place called the Absolute Slate. However, the word absolute is incorrect, because even beyond the slate, there are deeper baseline realities. Of course, mere mortals like us cannot hope to reach it. Falling through the slate was different and strange, because you see, on the slate, entire universes are smaller than what would be atoms here, and so us mere mortal beings are unimaginably small there, and so the reality, already slippery, was very, very different as we operated on different laws, and so falling through, I felt like I was everywhere and nowhere at once, but somehow, in some way, a creature arrived. He called himself the Boatmaster. Now, the Boatmaster, as he explained to me, was from a civilization long past, a civilization in a different universe that had already passed away, but they, the people, grew so advanced that they were able to make their own galaxies. And so, while many chose to just simply not exist anymore, for there was not a reason to, many others started their own universes. The Boatmaster, however, said he chose, rather, to tour other individuals who had found their way to the slate, for he found that type of life interesting to him, and no other reason why. You see, he was called the Boatmaster, but his boat wasn't really a boat at all. His boat was its own reality, the wings like a butterfly made of space and time. It soared through the slate, pushing all other realities back. The Boatmaster was a different individual, and his existence still confuses me, but he was not unlike us. On the boat with me was many strange and different entities. One that I remember most was a tree. That's right, a tree. Although my brain did not perceive him as a tree, to me he looked like just any other man. But things are different on the slate. Apparently this tree was quite popular among plants, for he was quite a celebrity. Cyano, he was among the first of many of his kind. He was the first on land, known as Cooksonia. He was the first to tower over any other land plants. He was Lepidodendron. He was the oldest, and it was his kind that was first on other worlds. I was impressed by his story, but me and my companion were not there to hear stories. We asked him how we could get back, for we had unfinished business here. The Boatmaster informed us that as soon as we fell through the black hole, that we had not vanished, that there was copies made of us, and stored within its event horizon, and that we simply needed an order of magnitude of power to be able to tap into that and reappear back in this universe as our copies. There was a strange type of bartering system in the slate, where one could borrow power from each other, even going as far as stealing it in the future when you did have enough power, but you always had to pay yourself back, so that was a slippery slope to go down. In the end, me and my companion settled on watching a strange entity. It was our job, and we would do this for a long while, and in return we would get paid a kiefer. A kiefer was a block of an energy source known as poppers, and poppers, despite their name, was the most abundant energy source in the slate. Poppers had enough energy to create their own cosmic inflations, which you can expect is quite a lot. So in order to get our kiefers, we were, in a sense, watching this very strange entity. This entity was weird to us, because it had no motive to do anything besides exist. It did nothing at all. It didn't even die, for it had no motive to. It simply existed. But the reason we were watching over it is because though it had no energy to do anything, no motive, it could and would accidentally cause quite terrible things to happen. For this old entity was much more closely related to this slate than any other being. It had been there for 3 cycles, which is, in the slate's terms, a very, very long time, for there had only been 9 since the original birth of it. While watching this being, I looked over and noticed that my companion was just gone, and I wondered where he went. But then again, as I've told you before, things in the slate were weird. Sometimes we would just pop in and out of being, so I tried to give it no mind. Usually we would always return. And yet, time, I guess you could call it that, passed, and still my companion had not returned. And I was wondering about this. I went to the boat master and asked him had he seen him, and he said no, he had not, but I had earned my keep, and I would be paid my kieper, and I could return here. The boat master was very kind, and it's still strange to me that he did this all out of the own kindness of his heart, and yet I don't question it. It was just his way of being. So I came back, and I was sure that he would return with me. And yet, when I came back to this reality, something was strange, something was different. I looked, and I found no trace of him, not even in the past. And I know what you're thinking. And yes, I agree, there are places where he is, but it is not him. It is merely a copy, but not a copy like I am. A copy that is different, that is not the same. For the companion that I had left with is not the companion that is here now. And I am confused because I look and I saw myself in other universes. And in other universes, he is also there without a trace. And yet, that is impossible. For you cannot truly disappear. It takes a great order of magnitude to delete information. And it is always borrowed from another place. And so this information is not truly deleted, it is simply transferred. And yet, here I am, and there is not a trace of him. In this universe, in any universe. I've looked through other games. Yes, I know I am in a game. I know I am separated from your reality by 3 different layers. And yet, even the reality where I exist in yours, he is not there. And I'm wondering, where did he go? What happened to him? Because what happened is he seems to not be around anymore. Yet, like I learned in the slate, that is impossible. But I've looked, and honestly, I am close to giving up. I know that I myself can never dream of finding the answer if it does exist. I am more connected to my other selves than I ever could have dreamed of without going through the slate, and yet I cannot escape this reality of mine. But I know you are separate from it. Can you please help me figure out what happened to him? because I am lost. I feel like I have gone mad. How could something like this happen? As I've told you, time operates funny there, and this type of being has followed me even into this reality. And sometimes the past still feels like the future. It is like a circle, a looping one. But I know that I am not mad because through games that I was playing one day, I saw a message from him, and I know it was him. He said something only that he would say. And I was confused at first. Why is it through games that he was trying to contact me, of all mediums? But I realized that it was probably because upon figuring out that our own reality is based in a game, that he was trying to cut through. And yet, the things he was saying to me were scattered and broken. I think it was hard for the information to go through. I think there was something wrong, something happening. He was trying to tell me something that he saw or something that he felt. I don't know, the messages were really hard to understand. And as soon as they appeared, they were gone. They couldn't stay here, and I do not know why. But I know these memories of mine are not false. I know they're not. For one reason, we are here right now having this conversation. Now you can choose to believe me or you can choose not to. But if you just hear me out, if you could look upon this game, and any other game that you play, I believe it cuts deeper than just this reality, for the slate encompassed most realities. I think he was trying to send a message across all of them. But I myself cannot hope to ever breach all of them together. So please, please, help me. I don't know where this story ends. I don't know what happened. I don't know if we'll ever find the answer. But all I'm asking is that you try. Please. I want to know what happened to him. How is it that something just completely disappears?